Research has proven that exploring and learning new things can lead to less stress, better health, heart health, better physical fitness, and a healthier diet. What do you think about that? Yeah, right. A longer and a better life, of course. And that is why, we are here. If you cannot travel, then we'll bring the travel to you. Hey guys, welcome to Midday Show live on ECWA Television Africa. My name is Magdalene Azal, and I have said
I'm honored because you're actually singing, and when you're about to introduce me, you were singing, so that's why I'm laughing.
I know there's this popular movie that people know so much. If you are a fan of animation, people love that movie so much. And the children in my house have been watching it all over and over again. And I'm like, what is in this movie? And funny enough, Tele, I don't think I followed that. That movie till today. I don't think I followed it, but I know there are some songs that they sang. I don't know you. I think you are a fan of animation, so I think maybe you sing the song for us.
I remember.
Okay, if you don't remember, you give us story about the the movie, because the people love movies too, and especially the young people there. But before I go into it, we are talking about Madagascar touchdown.
Of course. Just from the mention of the name, I know your thoughts will just start running wide. It's either you're thinking about the movie Madagascar itself, or possibly you'll be thinking about, just like you said, those who love animation, you'll be thinking about Lion King. In fact, immediately the country just came up. The first thing that came to my mind is the Lion King, because I know some part of the cartoon or the animation was actually, some of it is actually depicted Madagascar, and then knowing the fact that we know that there are certain animals or certain plants that are very endemic, which means that you cannot find them any other place apart from Madagascar. So when you just mentioned the name, lots of thoughts will start running through your head. Okay, is it Madagascar the movie, or is it the country we're talking about? I know another thing that strikes me even about the country is the fact that I'm finding it very hard to place it where exactly, Madeline. I'm wondering if that country is in Africa or that country is another 8
They are
continents.
denying us though. They are denying us. They don't want to associate themselves.
Yeah, they say we should not call them Africans. We should just call them the Malagasy people. So we don't know where we're going to place them, even though they have this beautiful brown skin like we do, where they are supposed to be proud that they have brown skins, but they say they are not African. So pity us, we don't know where we're going to place you guys. Even when we're talking about reports, even when you talk about representing Africa, you still see them there. So we need to wonder exactly where do we place these people. But it's a very great and wonderful country.
Of course, and then it's a pity that Madagascar is actually one of the poorest countries in the world, and then it has like 60% of its population as young people from the ages of like the young age to like 25 years, like 60% of it. And it is really amazing. Some of these countries that we've checked, especially the developing ones, the fast developing ones, is because of the rate of the young people they have and how they are struggling, to grow themselves and then to grow the country. But unfortunately for Madagascar, even with the fact that they have this packed number of young people, but still yet it is rated as one of the poorest countries in the world. But nevertheless, it is a place to go to. It is a place, because in the movies that we've seen, so many characters where you will see the wildlife and then how fun the place can be, and then those kind of places are actually places that Sele Elisha Dashom loves being. She loves the wildlife. She loves and it's more like, can you remember I asked you, I said, Sele, I'm sure you would want to be in this country. So what did you say?
I said yes. I love the country, even though the fact that the country is rated as one of the poorest country, but then I think there's yet some untapped side that they're yet to discover.
But sometimes I just feel like, okay, these things are just ratings, because no matter how bad a place is, do you know there are some very, very interesting things that you can get there? Or, sometimes when you hear about some countries, when you get there, you'll be like, this very country is the one that they are saying, it's poor, or that people are saying or giving it low rates and all that. So I think staying in Madagascar for a while before we go back to Nigeria, we might, end up loving it. And but we have to be in the rural area though, because most of the people in Madagascar actually are settled in the rural area, where most of them are farmers. They farm, they hunt, and then they also rear cattle there. And seeing the children walking on the street, it's more like, oh, this is really an interesting thing to see. They love playing on the streets. You see, like, especially the young one, and it's a pity how the young girl child is not properly given the attention when it comes to education, because they feel like you have to be at home and take care of all the domestic works, and then take care of the children too. Even if you're not married, having children, you have to take care of your younger ones, because it is more like that is your responsibility. This is what you're born to do. And then education is like a waste of time.
Well, I don't think, just like you rightly mentioned, the fact that it's not like education is a waste of time, even though they are still bent on their cultural beliefs that the woman is meant, her place is at home, where she's meant to take care of the domestic things in the house, child care and all that. But we mentioned the fact that they are poor. Madeline, it will shock you that the whole of that country, just 11% of the road is paved. The remaining are either bumpy or potholes. With all the way this country, and that's why I mentioned the fact that they are yet to realize there are lots of things that need to be untapped in that country. Take a look at tourism. You mentioned the fact that I love wildlife. Of course, I love the wildlife, because it's really that one of the things that I should find myself doing. Exactly. So for tourists who actually travel there, I've read of people who actually immediately after her marriage, I've read of people immediately after their weddings, their marriage, you see them having their honeymoon in Madagascar, because it's a country that you really want to. Just like I said, I'm finding it hard whether it's in Asia or it's in Africa, even though they are black. But if you go there, most of the languages you find them speaking, either they're speaking French or they're their own language, which is the Malagasy language, which is known to them best. So if you're going to go there, you must learn how to speak either of the two. Why? Because they had contact with the French people, and it's expected that this contact should to share some when it comes to signing some pretty together. They should be able to have some things like that with France. But then reverse is the case right now, even though we're still having UN going there to what they can do when it comes to the educational sector, which you mentioned the girl is not in the school. Why? Because the government cannot afford all that. Even though education is free there, I think it's between the age of 6 to 14 or so that they will be able, that will pay for you. And then it will shock you to know that more than half of the population of those who are in the workforce did not even have a formal education, which will make it difficult for them to be able to get a higher job somewhere else. Why? Because they don't have all the training that's expected.
Sele, do you know they have just like 3% of their GDP put into education?
Imagine.
Like just 3% of their GDP put into education. So you should know how low the educational system is. And even though the government right now and then other NGOs who are really coming together, to make a joint effort to bring up the educational system. But then it is like the thing, like I came across something like in some of the rural areas you will not even see schools at all, and then the ones you get to see schools, they have like 3 classes, and then in those 3 classes you will have like over 100. Sometimes you like some of these classes you have like over 100 people in a class. Tell me how they are going to learn, because most times it's like you have to be, how private schools, the reason why they are very important is because you are not jam-packed, you're not so full. So the teachers get to know you one-on-one, know your strength, know your weakness, and then know how to tackle them. But if they don't know all these things, there is no way they can have this kind of close one-on-one relationship with the children. So at the end, you see like nothing is going to be achieved that much, because they don't know the children, so they don't even know how to communicate with the children. And another thing is that apart from the fact that these young ones are so full in the class, the teachers are not trained. the teachers are not trained. So most of the time, just the way you said, they don't go to higher education, they don't go to higher school to the extent that they can't afford higher jobs to be paid higher monies. And the same thing with the teachers too. They don't even go to better schools. They don't even go to training schools. Most of them are just civil servants, just people who just finished primary school, secondary school, and then they are teaching the younger ones again. So it is more like it is going, I don't know how to even call it, but it's evolved, like it's in just one place. They are doing same thing all over and over again, and that is why the educational system is not working. But I think recently the government also, and then most of these sectors, the government are really trying so hard to see how they can improve it, and then have teachers. They said they want to have like 400,000 teachers, to be trained in the educational system, so that they can be able to have knowledge that impact in the children, and then also having better, or maybe bringing up structures in some of these villages, so that at least these young people can go to school, and they can become something. And if education is not prioritized, I'm not sure the country can develop more than it is right now, because if you're educated, if you know more, it is that time you want to put into, the growth of the country. And that is why even on a normal personal ground, they would say if you want to make better use of yourself or better use of your life, you have to keep learning. By the time you know more, you will know how to explore some of these things. And I don't know, it is just so sad that, this beautiful name, Madagascar, and then how we have seen it, and then it is a sad thing that these people are living this way.
Of course, because even when we're still looking at the educational sector, the fact that they close 1 p.m. and you've rightly mentioned the fact that they're overcrowded, and no wonder the teachers cannot be able to teach everybody. The little knowledge you have, you're trying to impact on these little ones, and then
this one is shouting,
this one is learning, the other one is distracting, and before you realize it, you as the teacher, you're exhausted and you have not teach them what they need to learn. And it even shocked me that even most of the girls, like you said, in primary school, you are in class and you're thinking about your younger one at home, as if you are the mother. At the end of the day, you end up with nothing. You've not learned anything in the classroom. But it's a great thing, just like you said, the government are working so hard to see how they'll be able to uplift them from that standard. We'll not blame them for the 3% GDP that goes to education, because they do not have more. Just like I said, there's tourism, and I think it's something that they need to shift their attention.
They should put more
attention on tourism. And also 2/3 of the vanilla that is produced in the world is coming from Madagascar. It's another thing, even though basically what contributes to their GDP is agriculture, and they have, apart from vanilla, they have coffee, they have rice and other, so I think if they are able to channel all this in the right way, their energy into tourism and also into agriculture, which they have discovered to be their main means of actually creating funds and creating wealth in that country, I think they'll do more, even though they have cut down most of the trees that are in that country. So you find the place is open.
That's the beauty.
The beauty is the trees, but the trees are no longer there. You cannot really pinpoint exactly at what point did they lose most of the trees that are there. Because if you are by another side of Madagascar, it's extremely cold. If you are at another side, maybe at the south, when it's summer at the south, it's winter at the other, north. I begin to wonder, and you're in the same country. Why? Because of the trees are no longer there to be able to protect, the inhabitants and the plants and animals. Just like I mentioned, some of these animals you can only find them in Madagascar, like the lemur. And 50% of the chameleons that we have are in Madagascar. So you see, there are lots of things, even though I can't keep a chameleon as a pet, but then these are things that you don't see them just anywhere else. You only find them in Madagascar. And they said there's this plant, one of their very unique periwinkles that's only unique to them, and they have discovered that it actually treats leukemia and cancer. I mean, if this is true, I mean, Madeleine, we should applaud them, and then the entire world should be, traveling over to Madagascar to get those periwinkles and create, actually, change it to some of the medicinal herbs that we can have, possibly to and even cure the monkeypox we're actually fighting for presently. Who knows, So I think it's something the government should also, channel their energy rather than, lamenting. Even though we know that part of the people that actually trade with them, we have the US, we have Germany, and also France. But I think if more is being done, I mean, people really, really, really troop into it. But Madagascar is truly a country for you to visit. For those who just want to have an experience, and some of those wildlife that's even there, most of them are not even harmful. It will shock you. So I mean, Madagascar is that country that's so much to visit.
I was talking about how the government are, really trying now, and most of these young people, and when the young people are given attention, things are going to move forward. But when the young people are not given attention, things are going to be, it's going to be more like it's stagnant, because they are the future of tomorrow. If they are not taken care of now, I don't know how the future is going to be. And that is why the government are like, okay, the government is like, okay, this is what we need to do. And talking about the young people, do you know many of these young people are just living on the streets, like literally sleeping on the street. They do not have homes. You will see them with their parents, living on the streets. So many of them, go around begging. And when you beg today, you go tomorrow, people will get, no matter how, there are days that people will give you, and then there are days people will not give you, because they'll be feeling like, we too, we are, facing it and all that. And that is why some of these young people, you will see, if they're not begging, they are stealing, picking pockets and all that, which is actually not good. You see them at the end being taken to the police station for stealing and all those things, and they are going to be punished for it. And at the end, you will see that someone's life is just wasted for no reason. And that is why we really, the government, they really need to look for a way, even though they are trying with some of the NGOs. Like there's this NGO, the Manda NGO, where, most of this, they have a home where these young people go there to sleep in the night, and then when they wake up in the morning, they go to do their hustles. And even apart from the hustles they do, this NGO encourage them with, like, they teach them in the afternoons, they teach them different trades. If you want to learn, if you want to school, they'll teach you mathematics, they teach you English, they teach you so many things that you need to learn to improve yourself. But if that's not what you want, because I think at that point every child has his own interest. Some of them have lost interest in education or in school, because their minds are already in hustling. They want to just go and hustle and then, just take care of themselves. And then their families too. So you see, some of these NGOs we teach them trades, we teach them like maybe tailoring, doing some things that will just improve themselves. So it is really, really important that the NGOs and then the government just do more for these people, especially for the children, because they are the future of tomorrow.
When you're talking about children being the future of tomorrow and what the government is doing, with all this that we're saying, Madagascar is one of those countries that when it comes to human rights protection, they protect the rights of human rights. And I think it's really something we should commend, the fact that if you protect human rights, that means they have even made education compulsory in primary and secondary school, which I think the government has taken upon themselves to make sure they do all this better. So I think it's really something that we should commend the government for what they are doing, looking at the fact that there are other things, just like we said, they need to check other sectors where their attention is not really focused on. And even though we say we don't know where to place them, Africa, Asia, wherever they are, where they are Africans, I call them Africans because they are here. And I think African countries, leaders need to come together and see what needs to be done for that. And when we're mentioning part of the things that we need to know about the Madagascar is the fact that they are colorful. Do not Thursdays is like a sacred day. You don't do burials on Thursdays. Why? Because according to the Madagascar calendar, their week start on Thursday, and whatever you start on a Thursday, it's believed that is what you want to happen to you. So whatever you do, it's like the start of a week. So you can't start something bad on a first day of the week for them. So Thursday has been set aside as a very beautiful, wonderful day. We don't know what they have with Thursday, but no burials are being done on that day. And they have this still talking about their culture, they have this respect for elders, just like every African country. They have respect for elders. When you go to Madagascar, you don't start eating until an elder have started eating, then you can start eating after he or she. And they do not play with blessings. So if you're about to go out for your exams, you have to wait for the elderly person or the older person in the family to bless you. And they take this blessing seriously. What also shook my mind is the fact that even though predominantly they are Christians, but they still believe so much in their magic, taboos, and so many other things that they believe.
You mentioned how they really love their culture. So, sometimes it's just this culture that is making us, think like, backward, because we just want to serve the culture. We just want to be in the culture, forgetting the fact that Christ has, come and then he has saved us, and what we need to do is to move ahead following him and then worshiping him. But no, these people just feel like, okay, yes, Christ is there, but their culture is their culture, and they put it first. And it is more like these people are positive people. They have this positive mindset. And then just the way he talks about the Thursday, like, it's just like, okay, what you start on a Thursday is what you believe to follow you throughout the week. And then it's a positive mind, positive thinking, because you will not want to start your week. Most times, okay, we start our days on Mondays, and then we speak to our Mondays. We're like, okay, you are going to be great.
To the week.
This week is going to be great, and all that. So it is the same thing, even for the fact that they love their culture, but they still have this kind of positive way of doing things, like positive belief about life and all that. But I feel the positive belief should just,
should
elevate
overpower.
them and take them to that.
I think so too. I believe so too. But there are certain cultures and norms, even though there are certain things we might do here in Nigeria that people find it strange, but that is what we believe, and that's what has been working for us. And I think there are certain things we need to change. Since we're talking about Christ came and changed certain things, so if you are for Christ, it should be for Christ. Don't be one leg is on the left, one leg is on the right. I mean, there's this ritual they have in Madagascar that after 7 years, your loved one that you've buried, you go back, dig the bones, wrap it and start going round, or when the child is after 3 months, you barb the hair of the child, and then you join in, make some sweets, and everybody in the family and there are just some things that are it's disgusting, and at the same time it's a taboo. But just like we're talking about certain things, I think just like we're saying Christianity is there, even though they have also Islam, is also the other religions are there. But since Christianity have actually stepped into that country, I think more also needs to be done, so that possibly maybe when they know more about Christ, begin to open their eyes to other areas that they need to to check into. Know that the country is being known as the red giant of that, because of they believe the soil there is red. And if you check from their flag, the color there is white, green, and red, showing purity, agriculture, and also the natural resources they have there, because they have natural resources too on that land. That the natural resources they have there also should contribute to their GDP, and also making the country to grow to be where it is. Even though there have been certain people that are coming with the reason why the color is red. Is it because they had a contact with the French, or is it because Asia is there? Back and forth. Some scholars have said one thing or the other. But then regardless of that, whatever it is that the color symbolizes, the red, the green, and the white that symbolizes for them in that country, it should be in a way that it will contribute positively to the way they live their life. It contribute positively to the way other nations will see them. Since they have decided to shift themselves away from whichever other country, even though they're very close to Mozambique, but then we know that one thing about that country is that it has great when you talk about wildlife, talking about agriculture, talking about very friendly and loving people, to welcoming and hospitable. Madagascar are really, really hospitable people.
I think almost every country you hear
in
that
Africa,
they are
hospitable,
they are
right?
hospitable.
No, Africa, mention Africa.
Okay, let me keep quiet. And then another thing again, I really like about how the young people are trying, when it comes to growth in Madagascar, is the fact that, they are beginning to migrate. They are beginning to leave the rural area, the very, setting of, okay, we belong, most of the population are in the rural area. Most of the population have to, farm and all that. But these people are beginning to, their eyes are beginning to open, and then they are like, no, we can't just be in the rural area, because most of the things in the, like, it doesn't favor them that much, staying in the rural area, because your children don't get to go to schools. And when you talk about healthcare, it is less there. When you talk about good water, when you talk about so many things, in fact, they lack so many things in the rural area. So some of these young people are beginning to leave the rural area, just for them to hustle. And that is why most of them, end up not having roofs under their heads. But it still helps them, because, some of them just go to some of these NGOs, and then they stay there. They groom them for a while, and then they become something useful in the society, and which is really good. And it is now beginning to, bring a little bit of growth in the area. Talking about healthcare, Sele. I can remember we talked about a country that has, like, out of 1,000 children that are given birth to, you will just see maybe the mortality of those children. The mortality rate is just like 3 in Madagascar. We have like 478 mortality.
Shocking,
in 1,000.
Shocking.
So it is, and this thing has been going on and on. Even though, to be honest, all of these sectors, just the way I said earlier, their government are trying to see how the things are going to work out. But they should try harder. Like in 478,
But then
not
you
too
blame
much.
them, just like you said, a lot needs to be done. But just like we said, what do you expect when? Because we need to go back and actually check how much percentage of money is being allocated to that sector to be able to see that we control that. If you take a look at their population, there are over 29 million in that country. And then imagine the rate we are recording, the death rate of out of every 1,000 child that is being given birth to. We are having over 400 that are dying as a result of that. Then that more needs to be done to that health sector, because I know of countries where they give free health care to all their citizens or indigenous of that country. But reverse is the case here. If you go to the rural area, very few of them have access to even primary health care. Not to talk about even the extensive of even taking the nurses there or the doctors there. Then, and you mentioned the fact that they are beginning to migrate, leave the country, because they realize that there is more to be done. And if you check how many nurses do you have, or how many doctors, 1,000 patients. So before one doctor be able to go around to, imagine if about 10 women are giving birth in a day, and you have just one doctor with maybe 3 midwives and 2 nurses. What will those ones be able to do to the 10 women giving birth? So imagine a woman giving birth to triplets or twins. Why you're trying to, there are lots of the reasons why we have that mortality rate, definitely. Why? Because a lot needs to be done. Even though far back 2019, before the COVID came in 2020, I mean, they recorded about 2.5% growth in all these various sectors. But when we had the COVID, definitely, just like every other nation, it affected them drastically. Like, they dropped, their GDP dropped to about 76% plus. So you could tell that it affected every other sector that they have. And that also contributed to the mortality rate of kids that were dying, because little could be done. You will not know, it's either there's an outbreak. Okay, right now there's an outbreak of monkeypox. What has been done to make sure that kids, they are protected from this ailment there? So you could see that a lot needs to be done. If we are saying that just 3% of GDP is going to education, how many percent is going to the health sector? So a lot needs to be done to make sure that
sorry, Stella. And one thing again is not just not having, the fact that they don't have, a proper healthcare centers in some of these places, even in the cities, not just the rural areas. Women don't have awareness about so many things. Just the way we said, you talked about monkeypox. Okay, what if monkeypox is there? And then the women in the villages don't even know about anything. And, they will just have their children. And when the children are hot, most times they're talking about when a child is, when you're feeling that the child's temperature is going high, just take the child and then, go and test the child and know what is wrong with the child before you administer medication. But no, some of these women just carry any herb they have.
Yeah, they believe in that so much.
They believe in it. But the thing is, the world is changing. So many things are coming. Like if somebody created them, they just to punish other people and all that. And these people are so ignorant about all these things.
And you know, hygiene is one thing I think is responsible for that.
It is. Do you know a child, a young guy, a young boy said he's in primary school, and you know most of the primary schools don't have running water and bring to the for the children. And then at a point, can afford bottled water, that should bring water from the stream, even if the water is stream, you know, urinated or you know excreted inside. To wash with dust everywhere, dirt everywhere, inside, and just do anything. And I'm going to. But even though you know this
mortality rate for a newborn of that baby properly, definitely that child dimension that the child is exposed to, maybe the atmosphere is not even conducive. Very few kids are strong enough to withstand all these other diseases that are coming. And even when the child finally comes back alive, you cannot tell that the child will live up to 3 years or 4 years. Why? Because certain things are not. So I think more needs to be done, even though we don't have to hammer so much on what the government is not doing well in that country or what they are falling. But the fact that there are other good and beautiful things in Madagascar. I mean, it happened to be the 4th largest island in the world. So if you are talking about other parts, talking about their forestry, they are also looking for the textile industry. They have youths that are also into textile industry because they have so much. I mentioned the fact that they have natural resources there, which they are trying to tap into. So the textile is there for clothing. So you know, it's really something they are doing. And they're talking about fishery too. There are lots of fisheries, like fish. You want to eat fish, you get lots and lots of them.
Look at the way you're excited calling the fish.
Oh my God.
But I think I will just have to stop you here so that when we come back, you keep, I like the way the sound of the fish is coming out from, I don't know if it's from your open teeth or something. Pardon me, Stella. I think we'll have to take a break now. When we get back, Stella is going to keep talking about fish. I think she loves fish. So when we get back, she's going to continue talking about fish. I'll be right back. You're welcome back, and we are still talking about Madagascar. What do you know about Madagascar? What do you love about Madagascar? Send it to us as a comment on Facebook, and when we get to see it, we are going to read your comment. Back to Sele and the talk of fish.
Madagascar. If you have that, you want to have that die-hard daredevil, you can actually dive into the blue sea there and, you know, enjoy yourself with the whales that are there. And they're actually, that's why I say you have to have a very strong heart to do that, because not everybody, if you have phobia for water, definitely you won't try that, or for the whales that are there, you won't try that. But then it's something to, just for fun, you know, enjoy yourself in the blue sea. It's part of what you do there. And there are lots of other, you know, eatables there for varieties of fish. So imagine having a very nice, you know, rice with some fish spice, you know. It makes sense, actually. You really enjoy yourself.
So they're talking about phobia. You just reminded me, like, I think I have phobia for
water?
lots of things. I think I have phobia for height. I have phobia for water. I have phobia for forest and all that, you know, going into the deep forest with only the trees and then the birds. Like, few trees.
You hate hiking.
Let me not say anything about hiking, because I can remember the last time I said something about hiking, someone said something, especially somebody that really loved hiking said something, so I don't want to go there. But you know, I just think I have to do there, and